Reports are coming in that the Tennessee Titans are possibly trading Derrick Henry, and other reports are saying that they're going to be sellers to start a rebuild should the New York Jets be interested in any of their players.
Inside, and a beauty! Hall running free! Brees Hall inside the 10! He's gonna score!
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking Jets with Tigo. My name is Tigo, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back to the video. Guys, the Tennessee Titans, per Ian Rappaport on the Pat McAfee show, was talking about the possibility of Derrick Henry being shopped and possibly traded, and how it makes a lot of sense. But Ian Rappaport dropped a little bit of a nugget yesterday, saying that he believes that the Tennessee Titans are going to be sellers moving forward. If that's the case, the Tennessee Titans are expected to possibly start tearing it down and kickstarting a rebuild. They have a high draft pick in this year's draft, and they've got some valuable assets that a team that might be in win-now mode like the Jets would be willing to go out and get, instead of maybe addressing positions in the draft. So I thought, are there any players on the Tennessee Titans roster that we should be interested helping them in their kickstarting their rebuild, which makes a lot of sense for Tennessee before we get into the players, right? The AFC South is an absolute crapshoot, and if they do the rebuild right, they've already got some really interesting young pieces, Treylon Burks, Roger McCreary, and, you know, a lot of these younger guys on younger contracts there. If they can kickstart their rebuild by trading away guys like Derrick Henry and others that we're going to talk about in this video, it would give them an opportunity to, you know, be back on top in the AFC South sooner rather than later. Now, I believe in that coaching staff, and I believe that they can do this. So let's talk about players. I think the big name that everyone's going to talk about is Derrick Henry. Here's the problem and why the New York Jets can't really trade for Derrick Henry. One is the trade compensation. What is Tennessee going to ask? You're going to expect that it's probably going to be like a second or a third round pick for a guy like Derrick Henry. And then you're also got to talk about the fact that this is the last year of Derrick Henry's deal. I doubt he plays on the final year of his deal, especially as a running back. He's going to want an extension. He's going to want some guaranteed money. And at $10 million this year, which was what his cap hit would be, it just doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense for the Jets to trade for Derrick Henry. But if he's an option, keep an eye out for a team like the Buffalo Bills to maybe be in the mix for a guy like Derrick Henry. He would really add a weapon to that room that they desperately need. They need running backs. They're probably going to look at taking Bijan Robinson this draft if they can. But if they can trade for a guy like Derrick Henry and take a guy like Bijan Robinson, now we're looking at a revamped running back room that's a super, super threat. But the real guys that I looked at, I came up with 4 names of Tennessee Titans that might be available for trade that the New York Jets should be interested in, at least make a call for. Number 1, and we're going to start with the least likely of it, is Kevin Byard, the free safety. We all know that the New York Jets desperately need a free safety to come in to help with the ranks. The problem with this is a couple of things. One, he's on the wrong side of 30. He is 30 years old right now. And here's the big kicker. He has a $13 million contract, and that's what you would be inheriting as the team trading for him. $13 million this year and next year, which isn't a good thing, right? And so when that breaks down, the New York Jets don't have a lot of cap space. So if you're telling me that, you know what, we're going to have to give up draft capital and then eat a large chunk of our salary, and a guy who, let's be honest, is fantastic. I'm not trying to take anything away from Kevin Byard. He was ranked as the 9th best safety last year in football. He would definitely be an upgrade to what we have. The contract is the one thing that I'm scared about. Now, if you tell me that you can bring in a Kevin Byard who doesn't seem to be slowing down with age at all, and maybe renegotiate a contract, add an additional year or two to the contract at a lower number, if he's interested in doing something like that, then I might be able to entertain it. But as of right now, Kevin Byard is an option, just not a super real one. Then we're sticking on the defensive side of the ball, and we're going to defensive end Danico Autry. Now, here's the thing with Danico Autry. He is a guy that I look at that maybe, just maybe, can bump inside and play inside for this team at 6'5", 285. He fits that JFM kind of role, and maybe as a pass rush specialist, rotational guy to really fill in that depth, he might make some sense. I know he's a defensive end. I just think maybe that might be an option. And he's got 1 year left. I know he's 32. It would be a $6.5 million contract is what the New York Jets would inherit. It's a 1 year deal. It's giving him an opportunity to go chase a ring. Maybe this might be a move that the New York Jets can make, especially if we lose a guy like Bryce Huff to a tender or to free agency or whatever it is. That is an option to bring in a relatively high-level rotational guy to really fill in and pad out that defensive end room and maybe be able to play up the middle next to Quinnen Williams. But now we're going to talk about a true defensive tackle, and that's Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons is the Tennessee Titans' former first-round pick in 2019. And he is going into his 5th-year option in his final year under his contract. Now, if the Tennessee Titans want to pay him, that's awesome. They should. He's been a fantastic player for them. But if not, if they choose, you know what, we're not going to pay him, he might be available via trade. And as a 1-year rental at $10 million, this is a significant upgrade to what Sheldon Rankins is. And yes, he would be more expensive, but you would expect that the Lions' share of snaps would go to both Jeffrey Simmons and Quinnen Williams in the interior of the defensive line. You promote Tanzel Smart, you draft a guy in the middle rounds, and now you've rounded out your defensive line, your interior of the defensive line, with 2 studs backed up by adequate rotational guys. And let's not forget that JFM can bump inside, even though I'm not the biggest fan of him bumping inside. Michael Clemens can bump inside, and I actually am a fan of Michael Clemens on the inside. These guys, we can, on the defensive line, we have a lot of guys that can rotate in and out of the interior to really help bolster up a group that we rotate a lot. And then last but not least, the guy that I'm most interested in, the guy that if I was the general manager, I would bring in, is Ben Jones, the center. Ben Jones is on the wrong side of 30. He is 33 years old. He's got 1 more year left on his deal. If we trade for him, we would be inheriting a $5 million cap hit, which is less money than what McGovern made last year. According to PFF, he was the 9th ranked center in all of football, again ranking higher than Connor McGovern. And here's why I would make this trade. I doubt that a trade for this center would cost anything more than maybe a 5th or a 6th round pick. You can get Ben Jones, and they would take the pick because why wouldn't they, right? They have players that they might want to test out, and there's those options there as well. That being said, if you were to get a guy like Ben Jones, you can come in and immediately get a high-level center to protect your veteran quarterback that you're going to go out and get. My expectations is Rodgers, but that also gives you the ability to, in the 2nd or the 3rd round, go and get a developmental center to sit behind a high-level center like Ben Jones, learn the game, learn the conversation, learn all of the things that he needs to, and then in a year from now, step in and play that center position. This makes a lot of sense in my mind. This is a move that I would make. Just because if we sign a center in free agency that we expect to start immediately, which I think is what the plan is, they're going to come in at a much higher cap hit than $5 million. And in a year where we're really tight to the cap and we're restructuring a lot of guys and cutting some guys and doing all those things, bringing on really low cap hit, high level players makes a lot of sense. So Ben Jones is the guy that I would get. And of course, I didn't mention him in this video because I kind of thought, like, of course, is Ryan Tannehill, but that's only if Rodgers doesn't work out. Guys, let me know if there's anybody on the Tennessee Titans roster that you think the New York Jets should pursue. And let's be realistic. Traylon Burks probably not for trade, right? There's no point in that. But other guys might be. Let me know who you think would be a good addition from the Tennessee Titans roster if they are tearing it down in the comment section below. And last but not least, go Jets.